Hello everyone, welcome to Lukman IS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 21st November 2020. So let us see which are the important articles for our examination. Yes, so these are the articles for mains purpose and for prelims purpose. Let us see one by one these articles and take input for our examination. First article on page number 6, editorial page. The context of the article: recently our Prime Minister had addressed the importance or given the importance of technology in the governance, especially digital technology, while addressing a tech summit in Bangalore. So the article is discussing that aspect, how technology has evolved under the present government and how present government is focusing on effective use of that technology in various aspects, especially education and healthcare sector. So yes, still the work is remaining, let's say the start has been done. However, there is a long road ahead of the government to ensure the effective digital governance in the country. So this is what the article is talking about. Let us try to understand. Yes, role of digital technology in the governance. Affordable smartphones and internet access have made India a digital nation with an estimated 750 million connections and thriving financial technology sector. Yes, we can see that from various aspects, like, excuse me, yes, government to citizen services using common service centers, advice to agriculturalists, digital payments, welfare benefits through bank accounts, and even legal advice online to 4 lakh people under the tele law scheme. Such kind of initiatives. At the same time, the digital platforms providing goods and services including online education and telemedicine have grown vigorously during COVID-19 pandemic. Right. So due to, let's say, work from home kind of aspect, at the same time the lockdown and the digital payments, digital transactions has increased during the COVID-19 pandemic due to, let's say, following stay at home and social distancing norms. And therefore we can say that the present government, which worked on expanding this digital infrastructure, that has somehow paid off or started to pay off now. And in future, especially in health sector, we can say that a long road ahead is still, or we can say there is still potential of digital governance in the health sector. Successive government failed to grasp the promise of achieving universal health coverage by 2022, for which the erstwhile Planning Commission presented roadmap a decade ago. Right. So universal health coverage was to be achieved, a long, we can say that, pending goal. Now the nucleus plan is Ayushman Bharat scheme with a digital health identity for all. So yes, this is the new component, we can say, digital health identity, and this has a huge potential. It is saying that with the emphasis on digitalization, it should be possible to achieve measurable progress early on the at least on one UHC component, that is access to free essential prescription drugs. So this will improve the access to drugs. Digital health ID would help prescribe and dispense essential medicines free. At broader level, efficient digital government depends on transforming internal processes and fixing deadlines for service delivery. So some important statements in this article, this one, and the true measure of digital nations is readiness of the government to use technology to create open, participatory public system that citizen considers trustworthy. What governance must achieve is reliable system of digital welfare. So yes, whenever the question is talking about significance of digital technology for governance or in general technology in the governance, you try to use these statements also. Conclusion: if the digital has to become the way of life, as our Prime Minister has underlined recently in that speech, redefining the irregular functioning of citizen-centric services would be a good place to start with deadlines for government departments. So citizen-centric services should be focused by the government whenever we talk about the digital governance. Okay. So question: efficient digital government depends on transforming internal processes and fixing deadlines for service delivery. Analyze the statement. Yes, one of the good statement that we have taken from this article, and directly analyze the statement because it is specially focusing on efficient digital government, transforming internal processes and fixing deadlines for service delivery, which is very much important aspect of governance. Fine. Okay, so in GS2, especially governance part is there, and if we have essay on role of technology in the governance. Yesterday also we discussed a similar kind of topic. When our Prime Minister addressed that tech summit, he said some important statements. So along with those statements, here some analysis, you can take input for this purpose, GS2 and essay. Fine, moving on. Again on page number 6, editorial page, India's no to RCEP could still be a no. Yes, the article is talking about the background that RCEP has been signed by the 15 nations, ASEAN plus 5 free trade agreement countries with ASEAN. So India backed out from RCEP negotiations in 2019. We earlier talked about this, and the article is talking about the progress made in RCEP negotiations and what are the problems, that what are the concerns that India still do not want to join RCEP grouping. At the same time, after let's say COVID-19 period and let's say India-China standoff along the LAC, the kind of measures taken by India towards China and Chinese investment, so these pose again the challenges for re-engaging with RCEP. Okay, so RCEP negotiations or RCEP grouping has kept India open, let's say kept the entry open for India to re-engage with. However, there are some challenges, and especially with China. So let us try to understand what is given in this article. Before that, this can be the question: discuss the reasons of India not participating in RCEP trade agreement. What are the new challenges for India to re-engage with RCEP? Okay, let us see. Yes, in background it is saying that how this 15 member grouping came into being in recently 15 Asian countries, East Asian countries, to take economic integration several notches higher by forging RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, largest free trade agreement ever, FTA. In 2019, RCEP members accounted for about 30% of the world output and population and 28% of the world trade. But more importantly, about 44% of their total trade was intra-RCEP. This is a good thing to ensure, or we can say strengthen regional supply chains. That this is what we can talk about RCEP. Would RCEP be able to realize its primary objectives of trade and investment liberalization? Yes. So arguments in favor, yes. In case of trade in goods, RCEP members have taken big strides towards lowering their tariffs. For instance, China has agreed to cut down average tariff from 9.4% in 2014 to 1.2% for Australia and all ASEAN members. So somehow the RCEP countries had agreed to reduce the tariff and non-tariff let's say barriers. However, arguments against, and these are some issues that India did not want to join RCEP, like in contrast to their market access commitment under goods, commitment made by RCEP members for services in trade liberalization do look shallow in terms of coverage of sectors. So जो सर्विसेज में जो उन्होंने ट्रेड लिबरलाइजेशन करना चाहिए वो नहीं है. फॉर एग्जांपल मूवमेंट ऑफ नेचुरल पर्सन्स, an area in which India had considerable interest, is considerably restricted. RCEP members have allowed relatively limited market access only to individuals in managerial positions or those having high levels of skills. The text on investment rules shows that it is work in progress. The rules on dispute settlement procedures are yet to be written, and therefore it will be interesting to see whether the controversial investor state dispute settlement ISDS mechanism is included. So re-engaging India with RCEP. So several RCEP participating countries had expressed their strong desire to get India re-engaged. This is visible from, like, yes, prior to signing of the deal, RCEP ministers adopted declaration on India's participation in the agreement. Okay. At the same time, India has been invited to participate RCEP meetings as an observer. RCEP members have agreed to commence negotiations with India once India submits requests in writing. What are the challenges? Excuse me. What are the challenges for re-engagement of India with the RCEP. Two challenges it is talking about. Since the border clashes, India has imposed number of import restrictions on Chinese products and has also subjected investment flows from northern neighbor, that is China, to greater scrutiny. So these are the development that we are having follow up in recent times. Second aspect, India's initiative for economic turnaround, Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, primarily focused on strengthening domestic value chains, while RCEP is likely, let's say, like any other FTA, is solely focused on promoting regional value chains. So they have some kind of conflicting interest here. India want to have, let's say, सेल्फ रिलायंट इंडिया, जहाँ पे हम आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान की बात कर रहे हैं. However, the interest of RCEP is strengthening regional supply chains or such kind of, let's say, regional value chains. So these are the challenges we can say for re-engagement of India with the RCEP in future, in coming future. So we can talk about that in that question we have framed here. Try to take input for this question, discuss the reasons of India not participating in RCEP trade agreements, talk about the services and the investment restrictions in RCEP grouping. At the same time, what are the new challenges, जो challenges की बात करिए अब चाइना के साथ में या फिर वैल्यू चेन की, डोमेस्टिक आत्मनिर्भर अभियान एंड द RCEP conflict of interest. Okay. Next, exercise Malabar comes to an end. Yes, we have been following up this news from long period of time now, and it comes to end now. The 24th edition of exercise Malabar, which concluded on 20th November. Yes, simultaneously it also, yani ki Indian Navy also carried out coordinated patrol (CORPAT) with Thailand in Andaman Sea and delivered food to the South Sudan in Western Indian Ocean under Mission Sagar 2. So Mission Sagar is a kind of mission that Indian Navy is doing for delivering some essential goods, medicines to underdeveloped countries or less developed countries, we can say that, under Mission Sagar. For phase, this naval exercise consisting 4 countries, India, Australia, Japan and US. So Australia for the first time participated in this since 2007. So Australia joined the war games for the first time since 2007. For phase 2, India and US deployed aircraft carrier groups INS Vikramaditya and US Nimitz respectively, and P-8 long range maritime reconnaissance aircraft for anti-submarine warfare drills. 30th edition of India-Thailand CORPAT concluded in Andaman Sea close to strategic Strait of Malacca. Okay, so Andaman and Nicobar Islands are located near to strategic Strait of Malacca, right, through which the larger trade in Indo-Pacific goes on, or from Indian Ocean goes through. Fine. So Malabar exercise, again some basics already we have covered, but we will repeat for new students. It is an annual exercise between navies of India, Japan, Australia and US. So it started in 1992 as a bilateral exercise between India and US. Later on in 2005 Japan joined, and now it became the trilateral. Actually the exercise has unique characteristics in a sense that every year there is alternate, we can say, location of exercises in Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. So this year, last year it was held in, we can say, Philippine Sea in 2019. So this year again in Indian Ocean it was held in November month, this month, in 2 phases, one in Bay of Bengal along off the Visakhapatnam coast, and then in Arabian Sea, second phase. So 2020 exercise was held in 2 phases, Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. Fine. This year Australia was included in the exercise. The significance of this exercise, that, or the inclusion of Australia, is that 4 Quad members now have, let's say, for the first time participated in any military exercise, and therefore there is concept called as, or evolving of concept called as, militarization of Quad grouping, which China consider it as anti-China measure. Fine. So that is from mains perspective we have already discussed, we will discuss that in future also. Fine. So for prelims perspective, Malabar exercise, this is the basic. Australia to temporarily host ISRO satellite tracking facilities. Now, India-Australia cooperation, bilateral cooperation in technology field. As a part of steps to deepen cooperation in civil space activities, the space agencies of India and Australia were working together to position temporarily India tracking facilities in Australia. So yes, this will help to support India's planned human space flight program. What is that? Gaganyaan mission by 2022. ISRO has put the target here. Both nations have also been collaborating since 1987, support data calibration and laser ranging for Indian satellites, launching Australia satellites and conducting joint research. This has been the area of cooperation since 1987 between these two countries. Both countries have announced $15 million for extending Australia-India Strategic Research Fund for another 4 years to facilitate collaboration between research and strategically focused leading edge science and technology projects. The fund has been there and the commitment for nearly $1 million since 2006 has been the continuation of this program, bilateral largest science program of Australia. India and Australia concluded a framework arrangement on cyber and cyber-enabled critical technology cooperation. So, three aspects you need to know about the bilateral cooperation in science and technology. One, this one, ISRO facilities. Second, we can say this is the extension of this bilateral cooperation. Third, or we can say this is the part of first, this is second, research fund को extend किया गया है 4 साल के लिए, and third one, a new framework agreement on cyber and cyber enabled critical technology cooperation. So earlier also we had discussed how to make for international relations section. तो IR के लिए हमने जो bilateral cooperation के लिए जो सारे countries के साथ 2-3 पेज के लिए एक notes बना के रखना है, उसमें ये follow up के लिए आपको India Australia bilateral cooperation which has been increasing in recent times, especially militarization जो अभी हमने देखा Malabar exercise, quad grouping and all. So collaboration in science and technology field also you can focus on this or note down that in follow up. Okay. Yes, some important captions and quotations. Now all these are from or can be used on essay in role of digital technology in governance. Very good statements you can directly use. Or GS2, if question is there on in GS2, digital technology, e-governance. So these are the part of governance aspect in GS2 paper. Fine. Yes, so these were important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. For further information on editorial discussion classes or ED classes, wherein in-depth analysis of all mains related articles is done by Ansari sir and team, you can contact Lukman IS. Thank you.